Quick update for you. Been doing some work under the hood this time, taking a break from the electrical. Did a tune-up, cap, rotor, plugs, wires, a new coil. Also installed a new alternator. Ended up going with the factory replacement since the 10SI series doesn't fit the C104 era Commandos, 72 and 73. The bracketry just doesn't work. So take you around, give you a quick update, show you what I've been working on, and fill you in on some of the things that have been happening. So you saw the engine running, and that's good. I do have a new alternator. I ended up going with the factory replacement. I did upgrade to the 55 amp version, new regulator as well. And as you saw earlier, it is charging at about 14 volts, so that's awesome. But this is the first time this engine's run for more than about 15 minutes in a very, very, very long time, probably 20 years. My understanding is it was started long enough to run up onto a trailer and then shut off. But after letting it run for a while, things like the temp gauge work, which is kind of cool. But it is, as you heard in the video, very rattly, very clackety, and if you rev it up, it sounds like a pretty wicked rod knock. It goes away if you let it sit in an RPM for a second, but it's got a pretty wicked valve tick, which is probably just worn out valves or valve train. But the deeper rod knock sound is a bit concerning. So let it cool down, check the oil. I did do a tune-up. You can see the new wires. I got a new cap, rotor, plugs, and the new ignition coil. In addition to the new alternator, I do have a carb rebuild kit, fuel filter, upper and lower rad hoses. You can see these are pretty soft. A new thermostat, new water pump. All these bits, I don't really know how old they are, so I'm going to go ahead and replace them just to be safe. But the water pump pulley does feel tight. It doesn't feel like it's got any play in it, so that's probably fine. But I have it on hand if I need it. So the new alternator. I know I was trying to get a Delco 10SI on here, series alternator, 10SI series alternator, and it doesn't fit. The lower mount, I have no way of getting a camera down here to it, but the lower mount on this alternator is much thinner than what's on the Delco. And all the research I did seems to indicate that that alternator will work just fine, but it's clear that it only works if you're using if you have the older Jeeps, the pre-AMC, so the Kaiser 71 and older. If you have the C104 bullnose Jeep Commando, the AMC ones from 72 and 73, yeah, they don't fit. So, I mean, this works just fine. 55 amps is much better than the 35 that was in it, or 37. I did have to repair this harness here, the Jeep side of the harness. Some of the pins were pretty well boogered up in there. This wire was actually broken out. I had to take the original pin out, open up the clasp, and get that in there. It's not perfect, but it's at least good for testing purposes. And you can see there are plenty of problems with this wiring. The field wire down here has the same problems. You can see that right there. Everything works. The alternator, charges just fine. This will do fine for now, but there's going to be a new wiring pigtail in my future here, or the Jeep's future. And you can see how badly that carb is oozing. It didn't start a fire, so that's good. I have that's right there, just in case. But no fires. A lot of smoking from all the debris that's on the top of the engine here. A new valve cover gasket is needed. And to my surprise, the heat riser valve down here did seem to be functioning. As the engine warmed up, it moved and opened or closed or whatever it does. I guess it closes as it warms up. That was surprising. I did not think that was actually functional. There's a bunch of other stuff down here. The emissions wise, that's either not hooked up or in rough shape. EGR valve. So yeah, overall happy the alternator works. But this thing right here, those sounds are quite concerning. Yeah, engines aren't too terribly expensive, but you know, yeah, we'll see. So for now, I'm gonna let it cool off and see what happens. I guess while we're here, I can give you another quick tour of things. I do have the cluster reinstalled, and while the car was running, the amp light was working. I also have started working on getting this straightened out. I don't know if you see in the previous videos, there was a really nasty kink right here. And this was actually folded back. So I'm just using some blocks of wood here and some really big C-clamps to kind of smush that back together. The switch pod over here hasn't changed any. I've not done a single thing with that except move it out of the way. It's still on my list, but since I had the alternator and all the tune-up parts came in, I decided to kind of tackle that and get those spare parts out of the way and get them installed. So a couple other things we've added. For Christmas, got a new latch. This I don't think I've ever shown it before, but this was missing entirely. It was basically this bolt that somebody had, if I can focus, this bolt that somebody had welded or cut to make the right hex shape to fit in here. If you can see it, that little thing right in there. I also got some new weather stripping. I know it seems kind of silly to invest in that right now, but whatever. Every little bit, right? So that installed nicely. Goes all the way around. There's even a little bit of extra left over. I don't know what I'll do with it, but there it is. It does mean the tailgate shuts nicely now. No more slamming, metal on metal, and the latches actually hold tight now. Before they would pop loose because there was no rubber in there to put tension on the hinge. A couple other things. I started trying to take the bolts out of the top here. Where's one? Here. To try and take it to the hardware store to get a couple more replacements. But you see, this one spins pretty freely. And it's not because it's loose. There are captured nuts in this channel, and the little J-nut clips that slip over the metal, and then they have the nut built in so you can tighten these up without having to get a wrench in there. Those are actually there, to my surprise. All the bolts are missing except for the four corners. So the top, you can't really see it, but then see how much that moves. It's not attached. I just decided to take this out, sprayed it with a PV Blaster and WD-40 and all the good juices. Even said a quick prayer, and it didn't work. Unfortunately, this corner of the top is rusted out. It's hard to see from the outside. It's just a little crack here, but as that J-nut loosened up, it completely ripped loose. Same thing happened over here. It's starting to split there. So as I tighten those or try to loosen them, rather than the bolts coming out of the nut, the captured nut is actually spinning on the little bracket and it's ripping the metal out. I did check the rest of these. They're fine. They're not rusted. I think it's because water runs down right in here. The seals are bad and it probably pooled back here and rusted them out from the inside out. Kind of a sad discovery, but I guess considering how bad most of these tops rot out, I'll consider it a win if that's as bad as it gets. There's some rust up here at the top of the window seals on both sides, and original headliner bows are still here, which is kind of cool. Yeah, that's about it. That's about the extent of what I've been working on. A couple new pieces, a lot of work on tune-up bits. So thanks for tuning in. Not a whole lot been going on, but some discoveries that are going to require a little more research to figure out exactly what they mean. Maybe a little more digging into that engine than I wanted to do at the start. But it's an old Jeep. I don't know what its history is other than it's not been on the road since 2002. And yeah, a lot can happen. As far as I know, it's got about 180,000 miles on it. As far as I can tell, it's what the previous owner seems to think it was or is. So all in all, pretty pleased with it still, but have some more homework to do. So thanks for watching, and we'll be back with another update as soon as there's one to give you. Thanks a lot, and Happy New Year.